All right, man. Now I would just go right in, but I want you guys to listen to this first and foremost because I did retweet this. So hold on just a second. I want you guys to check this out, and we'll analyze this here in a little bit.
I think in the end, Wayne and the NRA will either be there or maybe will be a little bit more neutral, and that would be okay too. Look, the NRA has over the years taken a very, very tough stance on everything, and I understand it. You know, it's a slippery slope. They think you approve one thing, and that leads to a lot of bad things. I don't agree with that. I think we can do meaningful, very meaningful background checks. I want to see it happen. So I've got a lot of support, and I also have the support of other people on the other side. Yeah. And I think the Democrats and Republicans have a chance to really come together. I think in the end.
All right, man. So, look, when I'm right, I'm right. And I'm going to highlight it every time I'm right. Conservatives are not to be taken serious. Conservatives that support this guy, that call themselves conservatives, I have to use that sort of in those air quotes, if you will. Republicans, obviously. And I want to say, first and foremost, the funny thing is about what he's saying. He starts off with the NRA now. I don't know why these people keep perpetuating this idiotic notion that the NRA is just this like principled gun rights powerful organization that just has Congress by the balls. Historically speaking, they've facilitated, endorsed, brought to the table a lot of gun legislation in the past. They are the moderate side of like the gun rights movement, if you want to call it that. They have milk toast as it gets. You got guys like myself who are actually, don't compromise in this regards at all. You have other even organizations who are no compromise as well, that see the NRA, we see them as a threat because, again, they get out there and they compromise all the time. They compromise all the time. They've historically compromised all the time and has led to more and more restrictions when it comes to gun ownership. That's not a secret. That's not anything that I'm making up or anything. That's just something that's just the reality of the situation. So it's always funny how he's perpetuating this nonsensical idea, but also a lot of other individuals, particularly the left, they always talk about how the NRA is, they got blood on their hands. They're doing as if they just don't budge. No. The problem is that they budge. They compromise. So they are shit. I will agree. The NRA is a trash organization, but not for the reasons that you guys would like to. Certainly, those mainstream leftists would like to think. But when he talks about this whole slippery slope, that's what it's always been. And to say that he doesn't agree, this isn't an argument. There's not anything to disagree or agree with. Historically, that's how it's always worked. Legislation leads to more legislation, which leads to more legislation. Over the years, gun restrictions have increased for the most part. You do get areas that, try to entertain this whole constitutional carry idea. But for the most part, especially at the federal level, gun restrictions have increased, not decreased. So the fact that he's talking about, it's a slippery slope, it is. It is a slippery slope. It always is a slippery slope. They already sliding down that motherfucker. But the whole idiotic notion of more restrictions or more so, and what he's highlighted in that sort of clip is he's entertaining this idea of universal background checks, right? Federal universal background checks. That is a fucking problem. Certainly by way of the state. I don't want to hear anything about it. If you just follow the law, if you just, you have nothing to worry about, Patriot Act type bootlicking son of a guns that no matter what this guy does, they're going to support it. And it's funny because he's basically saying in the video, yeah, well, people on the other side, of course, leftists will support some sort of gun restrictions. And they're not going to stop there. Like, same thing with his bump stock ban, which is, again, that's a sort of phony way to describe it because it was far more. I have videos on this. It was far more dangerous than it was just a bump stock ban. It's not just what it was, but again, he's entertaining more legislation. And this is supposed to be y'all's beloved conservative president, right? And we'll get the left to shut up. All we got to do is compromise here, right? They don't ever shut the fuck up. They never shut up. So what are you talking about? But of course, he has support from guys on the other side. But it'd be one thing if there was some sort of private arbiters, third parties, and private gun shops and gun owners around the world were like along the lines of, okay, it's almost like a Better Business Bureau, if you will, but a little more privatized than that, right? I would be for that. That's the right more so of the gun shops and the people that are selling the guns. But to have the state facilitating it, basically deciding, okay, this guy passed the background check, this guy doesn't pass it, you can't sell him the gun, or he can't rightfully own it. If he has it, it's illegal, right? That's what it's ultimately going to boil down to. And of course, they'll send the goons if you do have it, and they catch you having it. That's just how it works. Now, it sounds good because a lot of individuals be like, well, what about these people that are showing all these signs, right? That's what everybody always jumps to the extreme, showing all the sign, as if the fucking government, definitely the federal government, has this sort of just tremendous track record of never criminalizing people, right? That did nothing wrong because they said something they didn't like or something like that. And then he's willing. This is not negotiable, bro. This is not negotiable. I don't have to appeal to the Constitution or anything like that. This is a fundamental property right. This isn't negotiable, right? There's no need for universal background checks, which is all that is, a euphemism for the state. And by the state, I mean, I'm saying that as in, territorial monopoly on use of force, violence, ultimate decision making. So that includes the federal government. What that is the state deciding who can and can't own weapons. That is a fucking recipe for disaster. A lot of states, including Texas, certain avenues you can go by where you can sell guns, you can obtain them, and so forth, and you don't have to register them and all of that. That's the route that we're going with all of that. We're going with gun registries, or we're going with the state, which there's background checks as they are, but they're going to get more extensive, which is what he's arguing for, and they'll be more so universal, right? Which is they're not going to want private sales more than likely, and such. That's going to require, so if you have some sort of transfer, and that's why the registry is going to happen, because that's really the only way that they can really determine that, unless other people are telling them to fuck off. And that's what I would be encouraging, is just telling the state to go fuck themselves in that regards. And hopefully you get some of the like the state of Texas and so forth, or the individuals within it pushing back and telling them we're not doing that shit. Fuck off. And hopefully that's what we get. But nonetheless, that's what we're moving to. That's what they're going to have to do. We're talking gun registries, national gun registries, as well as more universal federal background checks, which, again, exists in a lot of different cells and avenues now. But we're talking about making it a little more extensive. And this is a problem. And, again, like he's saying, he has support. He has people support of. There's a lot of conservatives. Seeing Bill Mitchell's silly ass online always talking shit. I'm seeing a lot of Republicans. I'm talking about Kissinger. I was talking about this on The Blaze, Lindsey Graham. A lot of these guys are supporting Dan Crenshaw, supporting red flag laws. This is where we're at. The conservative, right? It's non-negotiable, right? But the conservative party that is supposedly about freedom and prosperity and private property rights are fucking negotiating people's rights away and compromising people's rights away. These people that allow this shit to happen, right? And the folks that kiss Donald Trump's ass and don't hold his feet to the fire, that act like they give a shit about freedom, they're the enemies. As far as I'm concerned, they've always been the enemies. But this is why, for one, I've never fucked with Trump. We already know that. The surprise, yes, fucking anarcho-capitalists didn't fuck with Trump. Surprise. But that's why I fucking hate politics, because this is what it does, right? You get people that would allow this to happen when he first started this shit, when we were talking about the bump stock shit. Reactionary, knee-jerk reactions, tragic events, and that's how they get you. They use tragic events and they intrude on people's private property rights in the name of safety. This is what the government has always done. This is what politicians have always done. And you can imagine if this was Barack Obama, a lot of these conservatives that support Trump would be having a goddamn fit, right? They would be having a fit. But this is where we're at with it. Where I see people all the time, well, this was going to happen anyway. I see people already in my shit, in my comments talking about this is going to happen anyway. Would you rather have Hillary? Like all of that sort of dumb shit. These guys are unprincipled and have no fucking backbone. This is why I don't take them serious when they talk about come and take it or 3%ers or anything like that. They full of shit. When it's all said and done, they will bootlick at, certainly if it's their guy. If he has an R next to his name, just because the other person that tends to be in opposition has a D next to his name, they'll support this. And by support, I mean they may be, like he said, neutral on it, which is, as far as I'm concerned, in this element, certainly when you guys voted this dipshit in office, that ain't enough. But they'll be neutral on it just for the sake of being like, hey, that's the what if about the other side? What if they win? We kind of got to compromise. This is non-negotiable. The Republican Party has long been fucking compromised. But this is where we start looking. This is why, and I differ actually from a lot of anarcho-capitalists in emphasizing this, where, yes, we can always talk about the government. We can talk about the state. We can talk about the politicians and their officials, more so government officials, and how they get out there and utilize the state to fund and pass laws, fund whimsical ideals, as well as passing laws that are obviously detrimental to freedom. We understand that. But I think at some point you have to look at individuals next to you and look at them and say, look, bro, you are the one that's allowing this type of shit to happen. So they got to be held responsible too. So I'm going to be at y'all's, I'm prepared for a lot of comments, and certainly when I post this video on my Facebook as well as on my YouTube. I already know there's going to be Trump worshipping, ass kissing. I mean, it's funny because the last time, like, they were like, oh, this is another, who the hell, what a bump stock, right? It was that's where we was at. Always fucking making excuses, and then here we are. Another tragedy, unfortunate mass shooting, and here the fuck we are. People that call themselves conservatives negotiating people's gun rights away, increasing power of the state. Golly, man, this is incredible, yo. And by incredible, I mean it's full of shit, man. What I be talking about historically he's been a mainstream leftist. Donald Trump has historically been a mainstream leftist, man. So when we say, like, I certainly say, look, this dude doesn't give a shit about liberty, bro. The fuck? It's because he slapped an R next to his name. That party's been long compromised. Well, he's pissing off the establishment. He is the damn establishment. Get a grip.